Officer Lola Frazier and Declan Henkel were assigned night patrol duty around the northern area of Gothenburg City in Nebraska. In recent time, there had been an increase in crimes in this specific area in town, considering there were a few abandoned properties around here. Abandoned properties were like havens for criminal behavior. Everything ranging from illegal substances, theft, and sometimes even murders occurred here. They were also like breeding grounds for criminals to hide out, dispose of evidence, and unfortunately, all this would go undetected at times. Officer Frazier and Officer Declan had been following a certain man for some time now. It was past 10 on a Friday night, and this man had been randomly walking the streets, often looking to and fro, as if checking if anyone was around. What is he up to? You notice he keeps shuffling his pockets, right? Honestly, Officer Declan, he looks like a homeless man if you ask me. Probably shuffling the few coins he's made today. It's sad. There are so many houses just laying empty here, yet people living on the streets. It was after some time that the man sat down by the bus stand and seemed to doze off. So far, the night had been quiet. The two police officers drove down the last block near the lakeside. It was when they were about to turn around the curb that Officer Frazier got a feeling that she saw something move from the window of the last house. The house was now tucked away into the tall hovering trees on its corners. The weeds were overgrown, and the house was in a horrible condition. It was apparent that no one lived here, or so that's what it seemed. Officer Declan, did you just now see that? No, what? I thought I saw someone. We should go check this place out. Officer Declan and Officer Frazier took their precautions before stepping into the abandoned house. The inside was more broken down than the house was on the outside. It seemed that it was only the structure that seemed to be intact. I'll go check the second floor, Officer Frazier whispered before she slowly creaked up the stairs. Be careful, I have my doubts if these stairs will keep up. The house seemed to be unoccupied, and the officers did not find anything suspicious either. They decided to continue on with their patrol. I don't understand. I could swear I saw someone standing there, as if watching us. The officers circled around the area. All seemed to be fine, however, Officer Frazier just couldn't rid her suspicion of that abandoned house, and it was on her insistence that they went to that abandoned house again. I'll check inside, you stay out here. If anyone tries to play games and make a run for it, you can catch him on the spot. Okay, officer. Officer Frazier stayed put, monitoring the front of the house, while her partner headed inside. When Officer Declan stepped through the door, things seemed to be just the way they were before. Just until he noticed that the back door was left open. He was sure that he had seen it closed and locked last time he was here. Suspecting someone was in the house, he immediately grabbed his gun and walked around the hall. That's when he suddenly heard a noise. It sounded like children were laughing and playing. Confused, Officer Declan checked all the rooms. But no one was in the house. Were neighboring kids playing pranks in here? It was highly doubtful that any parent would allow their kid out at this time. And that too in an abandoned house? Officer Declan walked out to the back door again to check the neighboring houses. The fences were too high for a child to climb over. Did he overhear sounds from the house next door? No. All the lights were turned off, and all he could hear were the crickets chirping outside. Just as Officer Declan was about to close the back door, he heard the sound of children laughing again. This time, small footsteps scurrying off. He rushed down the hall following the sounds, but wasn't able to catch any of these kids red-handed. That's when Officer Declan spotted a figure by the top of the staircase go out of sight as soon as he turned his head towards it. Officer Declan ran upstairs in seconds, ready to catch the culprit. But when he got to the top, he found the halls were empty as well. Thoroughly inspecting all the rooms as he walked down the hall, he thought he saw something shift in the room all the way to the end. He slowly creeped down, trying not to make noise. Now that wasn't a good move. Now you have nowhere to run. He swiftly opened the door, expecting to find some spoiled kids who had sneaked out to have some fun, hiding in there. But this room was also empty. Officer Declan immediately checked behind the door. Empty. What was going on? He was sure he saw something. He was sure he heard something. He turned on his wireless. "Officer Frazier, come in." "Yes, Officer Declan, is everything all right? Have you seen anyone outside?" "No, officer. The streets are empty. What about you?" I'll be right out." Just as Officer Declan put the wireless down, he started to hear the children again. When he stepped out of the room, he was quite intrigued to see drawings on the floor made by chalk. It wasn't there before. We like to play hide and seek. Officer Declan walked down the hall, noticing small messages, some on the walls, some on the doors, and some on the floors. We played it all the time, but it was just for fun. One day, Mommy said there was a new seeker, and Mommy would hide with us. It was me, Mommy, my brother, and our little sister, who was inside Mommy's huge belly. We don't know how Mommy ate her. Officer Declan chuckled seeing these messages. Where was this kid hiding in here? He walked down the hall and stopped by the room in the middle, where he heard muffled sounds of children shushing each other. When the seeker came closer, Mommy told us to stay put, until our superhero would come. We would know him by his hat and his badge. He felt a bit nervous opening the door, but this time he was sure he could hear the voices from the other side. When he slowly opened the door, everything suddenly fell silent, as Officer Declan stepped his foot inside. He didn't see anyone inside, but this room seemed to be a child's room. There were paintings similar to that one would see in a nursery. There were small scribbles drawn onto the walls. But we were waiting what seemed to be forever, and we started to get scared. When we heard our Mommy screaming, we went to check if she was okay. Mommy said our superhero would come, but the man wasn't wearing his hat and didn't have a badge. He covered his face, all in black. Officer Declan's heart started to race as he read these small messages. Mommy said it wouldn't hurt. She was right. All I felt was a pinch on my head before I fell asleep. Officer Declan walked up to what seemed to be the last message on the walls. His blood ran cold as he put his hands on the drawing, absolutely bewildered. He felt anxious, feeling the crayon marks on his fingers, rubbing off the rainbow colors. There on the wall was a picture of a police officer, surrounded by 3 little kids behind him. We thought our superhero wouldn't come. We're sorry for being impatient. Officer Declan looked down at the badge he wore on his uniform, and then on the badge in the drawing labeled Police Officer Declan Henkels. The room suddenly felt cold as he listened to footsteps circle around him. Officer Declan was horrified by what was going on. He could hear the laughter of the children around him. He felt their presence, but his eyes saw no one. But just as he felt something small and cold touch the palm of his hand, he couldn't take the horror anymore. He ran out the house, stumbling down the steps to the car. Upon seeing his pale face, Officer Frazier hurried to check the matter. "What's wrong, officer?" I don't know. I never experienced anything like this in my entire life." Over the next week, Officer Declan investigated the abandoned house on the last block by the lakeside. He discovered a long time back there lived a family of 4. It was on a dark night that intruders had broken into the home. The mother had called the authorities, and hid inside the closet with her children. But by the time the police had arrived onto the property, it had been too late, and the criminal had fled after taking the lives of all the members and looting the house of its valuable possessions. Officer Declan dropped down the file onto his desk and held his head. What had he experienced that night? "What is it, Officer Declan? You look like you've seen a ghost. What happened in that house that night?" "No, Frazier. I didn't see anything. That's what's haunting me. You can't see them, but they can see you." Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.